Inflation is up, recession's getting worse. What are you doing about it? Let's talk today.
Investing Secrets with Kevin Attride.
Economists are saying the US is going to suffer another recession in 2023. But wait, I thought we were already in a recession. Okay, well, it's going to deepen. JP Morgan Chase's CEO, Jamie Dimon, says this could be a possible hurricane. I don't know if you've ever gone through a hurricane. You don't want to live through one. And it could erode the money saving of millions of Americans. Well, that's what Jamie Dimon's saying, but we're also seeing tremendous job loss as inflation is soaring and industries are grappling with reconfiguring how they operate. We see bracing for recession in 2023 as job losses top 2 million, says Citibank. And the United States could topple into a, quote, mild recession. Might it be mild or is it really a hurricane? No one really knows, but we know that we're headed towards something worse. And we're seeing unemployment could top 5%. We could even see worse as inflation gets worse in the coming days. And we're also watching what the Fed is going to do as they hike rates and money becomes more expensive. Ultimately, a deeper recession could result as the Federal Reserve is playing with the money supply and increasing rates. Fitch is also telling us that there's significant job loss expected in 2023. And the recessionary forces we're seeing currently and protracting into 2023 are going to put pressure on labor demand as there are more job losses and falling job openings. All right, we're seeing a deepening recession, the economy's in shambles, job losses all over the place, and inflation is sky high. What are you going to do about it? Well, today I want to talk about two things. One is preparation, and two is taking action. First, for the preparation. You've heard me say it in the past, and I'll say it again. I want you focusing on give, invest, pay, spend, in that order. First, give. You need to be purposefully giving back, making an impact. You can't call yourself an investor, someone of wealth, someone of means, or someone who wants to make a difference in this world if you're not giving back. So first and foremost, make sure that you're making a difference, giving and maximizing your investment in organizations making an impact. Second is investing. I want you focusing on how you're investing in yourself, how you're fueling your own mission, how you're fueling your own investments, how you're paying yourself.
When the dollar isn't buying what it used to, I recommend McAlvany ICA for your gold and silver IRA or private collection to hold value for decades.
Whether you call it savings, whether you call it investing, you need to be focused on how you're maximizing, whether you call it retirement at the end of your days, whether you call it passive income right now, you need to be investing in yourself. Third is paying. Then you pay your bills. After you give, after you invest, that's when you pay your bills. Hopefully you have enough to pay all of your bills, but don't pay your creditors until after you paid yourself. And then lastly is spend. Only after you paid your bills should you then take your trips, go shopping, go on a buying spree on Amazon or whatever it may be for you. But you need to make sure you're giving, you're investing, you're paying, and then you spend. So many Americans spend, and then they have to pay all their bills, and there's never enough money to invest, let alone give. And so I want you to do it in the reverse. Give, invest, pay, spend. That's the first thing. Next, you need to focus on a 6-month emergency fund. Maybe you've already got this emergency fund. Maybe you only have a few weeks, but so many Americans, even those who call themselves investors, those who many people consider are wealthy, are living paycheck to paycheck. I once encountered a doctor that ultimately she was in a position that was quite turbulent, and she was interviewing somewhere else. The interview looked like, I just need a job because I need to pay my mortgage. This doctor was living paycheck to paycheck. And you would say that a doctor of her specialty was making very good money. And yet she was not practicing what we teach. So I want you to have a 6-month emergency fund. And that's a 6 months of your basic costs on a monthly basis. And if you want to be a little more conservative and say, if I cut back to just the bare minimum, what could I live on? Maybe you want 12 months of that. Whether you're a nurse or a doctor, a HVAC, a technician, a plumber, or maybe you're that coder at big tech and you just got laid off. You need to understand where you stand in the marketplace and how can you ensure that you make consistent income. You need to plan your emergency fund based on how you're earning income and the stability of it. So you need to make sure that you have this 6 months, at least 6 months of emergency funds. And you also need to think about, how are you holding that? Don't have a bunch of cash laying around under your mattress. I would also say you don't want a bunch of cash just sitting in a commercial bank. Whether you want to have that in precious metals, whether you want to have that in your own private bank.
The wealthiest Americans utilize private banking. I recommend the experts at Living Wealth when you're ready to implement this strategy.
Those are some things for you to think about and talk with your financial coach around what you need to do. And if you want some help, we would be glad to help you. But you need to think about having that emergency fund and how to hold the funds. Next, I want you thinking about how you live more conservatively. Are you making sure that you're always spending less than you make? And that goes back to the give, invest, pay, spend. But make sure that you're taking care to look at how much money comes in and how much is paid out. You need to live more conservatively. And also go and look for deals. My wife just bought shoes for me 50% off. So are you paying retail price, or are you always looking for the best deals to save some money? Also, and not necessarily lastly, because there's a whole other things, but one thing I want you focusing on is how you make sure that you keep as much cash on hand. And so you have gurus saying, oh, pay off all your debt, pay off and make sure that all your bills get paid for. I want to go back to the second thing you're supposed to do is invest in yourself. And so one simple tactic on that is don't pay off your mortgage. And that's hard to hear, but I don't want you paying extra payments on your mortgage, because you know what happens if you spent 12 months paying all these extra payments, and you're paying down your mortgage, and you have only $100,000 left to pay on your house. You know what happens if you lose your job and you can't pay your mortgage? The bank is going to foreclose on you. It doesn't matter if you made all these extra payments. So think about how you're investing in yourself to maximize your returns. Also, if you locked in your mortgage at a fixed rate, it's cheap debt. So how are you using that to earn returns that are far higher than that debt on the mortgage?
If you don't know where to start investing in real estate, I recommend Norada Real Estate Investments. Their counselors are impactful.
And maybe you're someone who's very conservative and you don't like debt at all. Well, make sure if you're going to pay off your mortgage, you pay it off all at once, not most of it, and then have this crisis and the bank can take your house. So those are just a few things to think about. As we enter a deepening recession, jobs will be lost. People will lose their income. It's going to be challenging for many Americans as prices increase. We're all getting squeezed. So think about how you live more conservatively. Focus on give, invest, pay, spend, and don't do things like paying off debt that is really cheap when inflation is eroding that dollar, and you can earn far more in the right investments. That's preparation. Next, I want to talk about action. What are you doing during these recessionary times to maximize your investments, maximize your returns, and be more successful. When everyone else is afraid, are you positioning yourself for maximum action to ensure that you're capturing the investments that are going to make you more successful? And you understand that in recessionary times, especially in turbulent times, savvy investors, those who have done careful research, planning ahead, are far better positioned than all the other people. You think about a herd running over the cliff. Are you standing back and saying, what am I going to do? What if you can capitalize on movements in the market that position yourself for maximum returns? You understand there's going to be deals everywhere. As investors get afraid, as the average person who calls themselves an investor gets afraid, what can you do to make sure that you're identifying the right deals? In a past interview with David McAlvany, we talked about the contrarian investor, the investor who steps back and says, I'm not going to buy when it's high and sell when it's low. I'm going to step back from the crowd and see the movements of the market, whether it's the stock and bond market, whether it's the real estate market, or anything else in between, to step back and say, how do I find the right deal when others are afraid, when everyone's losing their head? That's the time to step in and scoop up the great deals. And you're also going to need some cash. And I don't mean literally lots of dollar bills, but you're going to need the funds, the capital for the right investment. So let's say that you wind the clock back and energy was in great despair, and one of our instructors purchased oil when it was negative. He ultimately won like a bandit. When everyone else was losing their head, he scooped up assets at an incredibly cheap price. And you understand, if you're focused on these, you can make sure that you're maximizing your return far better than any index. So you need to have the capital and the funds, but it then goes back, just like we talked about the emergency fund. How are you holding these funds? You don't want just a bunch of cash sitting around in a commercial bank earning 0 or possibly 1, maybe 2%. Inflation is sky high, and that those dollars sitting in the bank are eroding at a rapid rate. So you need to make sure that you're using the right strategy to capitalize on the best returns. And so whether that's using precious metals, whether that's using private banking, you want to make sure that you're using the right strategies to have liquid funds, to make sure that you have the right reserves and you can act quickly to capitalize on the deal when it comes. I also want to talk, markets are cyclical. And so we see the stock market, there are times when it does better, there are times when it doesn't do as well. And also, there are savvy investors just waiting for a significant dip. That's when they jump in and buy. You can pay attention to certain real estate markets where the market is very soft and it looks like no one's buying. That's when you can come in and scoop up better deals. But think about how you're going to do your research. Focus on the asset classes that you enjoy, that you're good at, that you understand. And understand when is the right timing. Don't just buy. I hear dollar cost averaging all the time. And people are dollar cost averaging, putting their money in when the market can free fall, and they're not wisely investing their dollars into that asset class. Think about where is the market headed and how you position yourself. And if you need help around the right strategies on what to do to take action and the right investments, or maybe it's simply the tactics on how to invest in the right real estate, or how to ensure you're focused on buying gold correctly, or investing in yourself, or maybe you don't understand private banking and you'd like to understand that. If you want to understand these strategies that the wealthy are using today, I can help you. And there are more investing secrets that are quite powerful for you to build and maximize your wealth. As a matter of fact, I've created a free guide to help you to be more effective in your investing journey. It's called The Top Investing Hacks the Exclusive Rich Are Not Telling Us. And I want you to take action right now by clicking the link in the description below. I want you to have this exclusive access so that you can understand the strategies and the tactics the rich use to maximize and grow their wealth. All right, it's time for you to experience financial freedom.
The information contained in this episode are opinions not to be used as individual guidance. As always, consult your own financial team for your investment decisions.